Today here with us. We've been chasing him for a while to come to give a talk, but it's a long way from Vienna, so hopefully we're going to get today.
It took 18 hours to come here.
No, it isn't.
18 hours?
It is. So, Dr. Stefano Monti is currently the head of the Nuclear Power Technology Development Section of the International Atomic Energy Agency in Vienna. And from May 2011 to January 2015, he covered the position of the IAEA team leader for fast reactor technology development. For more than 30 years, he has been working on several national and international projects and programs on advanced nuclear systems, leading a number of international research groups. As the director of research at the IAEA, the Italian National Agency for New Technologies, Energies, and Sustainable Economic Development. That's a very long name.
Long name, but
He was head of the division reactor and field cycle safety and security methods. ENEA, yes. He has served on a number of national and international nuclear committees, among which the board of directors of the Italian National Institute for Nuclear Physics, the steering committee of the OECD Nuclear Energy Agency, and the executive committee of the European Sustainable Nuclear Energy Technology Platform. He has published more than 200 papers on refereed journals and conference proceedings, and he holds a PhD from University of Bologna in Italy. And today he's going to tell us about IAEA activities.
in this field.
In this field,
of course. And it will be already, a big goal to try to summarize in 40 minutes our activities in the field. I work at the IAEA since 2011, and at this moment I take over this position. Within the Department of Nuclear Energy, we are in charge of supporting member states as for advanced technology, any reactor lines, but focused only on the reactors. So it means that today I will not touch any related technology to the fuel cycle and the waste management, etc., but just concentrating on the nuclear reactors. So, just to start, I think that, I don't know if you're very well aware of the IAEA at large, so I decided to put some slides at least to let you know what we are doing, what is our mandate, and how we support the member states. Then, to introduce our program, I will spend a couple of slides to talk about nuclear power and sustainable energy, what is the current scenario and what is the forthcoming one for which we do something in the area of advanced reactor. Then I will describe our key thematic area and give some examples for each of them. In particular, we'll describe our so-called coordinated research project, the one again devoted to nuclear reactors. I know that, in US and in the rest of the world, one of the key topical areas is small modular reactors, so I will spend some words on what we are doing in support of SMR, actually more on deployment than development. We are also in charge of non-electric application, so I will give you some information about our toolkits in this area. And then I would say, the topic I personally prefer, which is education and training and knowledge preservation, which is very important, in particular in some reactor lines that have a very complicated history, like fast reactor and the gas-cooled reactor. So what is the International Atomic Energy Agency? The IAEA is an independent intergovernmental science and technology-based organization of the United Nations, which serves as the global focal point for the nuclear cooperation. So what we are doing at the end of the day, we support our member states, first of all, in planning for and then use nuclear energy. Actually, not only nuclear energy, but any nuclear science and technology. And then, of course, we also facilitate the transfer of knowledge and technologies from developed country to, country under development, but very important only for peaceful uses. So another important task that we have is to develop safety and security standards at the international level, try to harmonize the safety standards at the international level. And then when we have created this safety framework, we help the member state to reach the highest level of safety, of course for the protection of humans and the environment. And last but not least, the important point is that, of course, we help member states to go nuclear, but as a counter value, we are in charge to verify that they are using this technology only for peaceful uses. So actually, half of the agency is devoted to our inspector activities, which means that we have to assure the rest of the world that the different countries are using nuclear materials and nuclear technology only for peaceful uses. As you may remember, the IAEA was created in 1957, and it was the follow-up of the very famous President Eisenhower's speech in 1953, famous speech on atom for pieces. At the beginning, there were only a few member states belonging to the IAEA, but nowadays we have 168 member states. Okay, so our main mission is to foster the role of nuclear science and technology in sustainable development and to favor the peaceful use of nuclear energy worldwide. The Secretariat is composed of, at the moment, of 2,300 people with different professional skills, science, technology, even managerial skills, and so on and so forth. And we are organized. We are organized in this 6 departments. Actually, we have 4 technical departments, plus the Department of Management, as in any other house. Of course, we have to organize ourselves. So for this, human resources, financial issues, and so on and so forth. And we have also a technical cooperation department. The department is in charge to support the developing countries. So normally there are bilateral or multinational, regional program. And the Department of Technical Cooperation is in charge to use the skills and competences which are in the technical department in order to transfer technology and know-how to the developing country in the different, for the different nuclear technologies. The other department, the Department of Safeguards, it represents more or less 50% of the agency, and is the department of our inspectors, the ones which are entitled to fly all over the world and make the inspection, the safeguard inspection in the different nuclear facility for nuclear material accountability and the correct use of nuclear technology. Then nuclear science and application. Here we have, the support member states in all the, I would say, non-nuclear power technology. So dealing with, nuclear application in several fields, even for the environmental protection or for agriculture techniques, medicine, and so on and so forth, accelerators, and so on and so forth. As for the other two, I have some slides which I wanted to present. So our department is the Department of Nuclear Energy, which means that we cover nuclear power, fuel cycle, and waste management. And actually, in the department, we have competence on all this area. So of course, there are specialists in nuclear power operation, because we support the operation of the current nuclear fleet field. then nuclear fuel cycle, nuclear waste management, innovative technologies, both for the reactor, the fuel, and the fuel cycle. Even the development of indigenous capabilities for national energy planning. So we support the member states for their national energy planning at large, not only specifically on the nuclear part of their program. There is also an important function, which is preservation and dissemination of nuclear information and knowledge. For instance, in our department, we have an important section, nuclear knowledge management. And then we have also a section devoted to research reactors, so the use of research reactors, mostly in support of nuclear power, but also for other applications. So the skills that we need in our department, I tell that because some of you in the future may be interested in applying to our, to come to the agency. We have a nuclear engineer, but also especially in communication, because we have also this task within the IAEA, energy data analyst, energy planner, to perform that kind of national energy planning for the member state which require that. Nuclear information specialist, nuclear power engineer, nuclear fuel cycle specialist, waste disposal, and knowledge management specialist. So all the professionals that we need to support our program. The other very important department supporting nuclear power is the Department of Nuclear Safety and Security. And well, the department in particular is in charge to develop the famous IAEA safety, actually safety and security standards. This graph, you cannot understand anything because it's really too small, but just to remember that there is a hierarchy in the safety standard. The first week we start from the fundamental safety principles, so the highest in the ranking. Then we have the safety requirements, which translate, for instance, in safety design criteria for any kind of reactors of nuclear facilities. And then at the end, we have the safety guides. There are the practical safety guidelines that should help the developers to design their nuclear facilities and then to operate them. Underneath that, there are only the basis of everything. At the end, one should develop the codes and standards. The code and standard which should be used by the nuclear operators and the nuclear designer to, for instance, to qualify the different component and system of the nuclear reactors. So the function of the IAEA from this point of view is to try to find a consensus at the international level to harmonize and share the same principle, requirements, and guides. The last level, of course, is something which is managed at the national level. And so we have also, of course, the member states to implement this kind of safety approach and safety standard in their national legislation. Because at the end of the day, the member states are responsible for the safety and the security of their facility. But of course, it's a benefit for the whole world to try to harmonize the safety approach and the safety requirements for any application of the nuclear technology. So what we are doing in general, as we say, we develop standards and guidelines. We also provide services and review. For instance, even a developer of a new reactor can come to the agency and say, can you evaluate the safety of my new concept in light of your safety standards? So we can perform under request this kind of service. Of course, for us, it's fundamental to support the member states for their capacity building. In particular, in this moment, the effort is toward the so-called newcomer countries, countries which never gone in nuclear, but they want to start a new nuclear program. And of course, the first issue is to create the necessary human resources. So a lot of effort on capacity building. knowledge network. Well, knowledge network is part of what I said before, even transfer of knowledge between the developed country to the country under development. We provide the forum for communication and sharing lesson learned. Well, a typical case was, of course, the work which the IAEA has been doing since the Fukushima Daiichi accident. We have put together all the different stakeholders and member states in order to and create the forum to share the lesson learned from this big accident. And then, last but not least, also we support the member state for technology development, research, and innovation. Take into account that the agency is not a research institute, international research institute like CERN or something like that. So we provide this support, but have to say that the budget and resources allocated for that is very, very limited. Unfortunately, because I'm the second in charge of that. Just to give you some indication, well, of course, we promote, we would like to gather the best minded worldwide. So we have a pretty large program devoted to looking for skilled and motivated young professionals. The two main instruments that we have is the internship program and the program, the junior professional officer program. You can find details on these two programs in this portal. So if you are interested to apply, you can find the thermal reference for these two different programs. And here in this portal, you can find all the necessary information. Of course, it's devoted to young generation, nuclear engineer, etc. All the professionals that I mentioned before. But of course, there is a limit for the age. For instance, the junior professional program is devoted to young engineer up to 32, and so they should have older than 32. Typically, I would say postdoc, or doc or postdoc. We have also some possibility for PhDs. So now, coming to the very topic of this speech, let's talk about nuclear power and sustainable energy, and let's start from the current scenario. Let's try to see things in perspective. Well, when we talk about sustainable energy worldwide, this is the equation which should be resolved. It means that should be environmental friendly. And with the sustainability, there is also the economic factor and the social factor. As for nuclear, well, we know what is the situation, so it's very good because it creates by very high level and skilled. It needs very qualified and skilled human resources. It also implies a significant industrial development in the country. It's a reliable, efficient energy source. So a lot of merits, but we know that in order to be considered really sustainable, should also comply with the high-level safety requirements. There is a problem, at least in certain part of the world, about the public acceptability, in particular in relation to the high-level waste. Well, with this scenario, we also know what are what makes nuclear power unique. That if a newcomer, for instance, want to go nuclear, it means a commitment at the level of the state for at least 1 century. 1 century as for the nuclear energy production. But if we consider also the long-term nuclear waste management, is also more than 1 century, even several centuries. Okay, if we consider the high-level waste. So it's not a joke. When a country decides to go nuclear, it means a commitment for the whole nation even for some centuries. Well, the other unique things is that we know very well, capital-intensive investment. We know what does it mean with some recent realization, including in U.S., without the consequences of this very peculiar aspect. We need very well-trained human resources, which is also an asset because it creates high qualified jobs in the country. High level of safety and security. There is the question of control of nuclear materials and again, public acceptability, public perception. Well, in this context, whatever, I mean, of course, there are pros and cons. The situation worldwide is this one, that in 2004, I have up-to-date data in terms of coverage of electricity demand, as of 2014, but more or less we are the same even with 2015. So we're generated to 1410 terawatt hour of electricity. There are 441 nuclear power plants in operation, and there are 67 nuclear power plants under construction in 15 countries. And some relevant things is that we have two newcomer countries. Newcomer countries, I mean, in terms of construction project. I'm talking about the Emirates and Belarus. In any case, even in the post-Fukushima area, we think that the drivers to go nuclear remains the same. First of all, the point of energy security, the fact that fossil fuel, they are abundant, but their price is volatile. Well, recently, of course, there are many concern about the climate change, and as a consequence, there is an increased demand for clean energy. So even in the post-Fukushima area, this remains the main drivers for nuclear power, even in the post-Fukushima era. Well, taking into account these drivers, the IAEA has recently issued these projections at the horizon of 2030. There are, of course, low and high value. As you can see in recent years, the situation is more or less stable because there are reactors which are shut down and more or less compensated by other reactors connected to the grid. The problem is that the world is not at all homogeneous. It means that some reactors are shut down in certain part of the world, are constructed and connected to the grid in another part of the world. So, okay, this is a way to analyze things a little bit homogeneously, which is not always the case. However, taking into account the driving forces which I have described before, the SSC is, evaluating that the horizon 2020, we should have from the current 382 gigawatt, the high scenario foreseen some more than 500 gigawatt, and in the very high scenario at 2030, which is a little bit, in my view, realistic, it should be the double of the capacity worldwide. Most probably the reality will be just in between, and with a clear increase of realization in Asia. There are some other good news concerning, as I told, the newcomer country. The numbers are the following. Country with first nuclear power plant to start construction or under construction in this moment are two. Not very much very well the situation concerning first nuclear power plant order. Decided to introduce nuclear power and started preparing the property infrastructure. We have 7 countries in our program, which means we put in this category countries which are really taking commitment to go nuclear. Because otherwise, the number of countries which have expressed interest to go nuclear for the first time is relatively high. For instance, if we consider the recent declaration during our annual general conference, there were 17 new countries expressing the wish, potential to go nuclear in coming decades, I would say. But at least when we talk about these 7 countries, there is a real commitment, and the country has also initiated some steps ahead in order to build the necessary infrastructure, which means in particular, first of all, to create create the necessary skills and human resources. So this is the current situation. This is not, particularly exciting or promising like 20, 30 years ago, but there is some significant increase even in perspective. So of course, if we talk about the perspective of nuclear power, we have also to talk about not only the current fleet, but also the next reactors, the forthcoming one, both the one for the near-term deployment and also the one for the long-term deployment. So a good representation of the technology which are being considered for the next future long-term deployment is given by our ARIS database. So we start talking about what we are doing, particularly in my section. In my section, we are responsible to collect the information concerning the advanced reactor technology. What we mean with this term, advanced for us means both evolutionary and so-called revolutionary or innovative reactors. So among the advanced, the evolutionary reactor, of course, we have all the Gen 3 and Gen 3 plus reactor, both boiling water reactor, pressurized water reactor, heavy water reactor. And then when we look a little bit far away, of course, we have the small modular reactor, in particular gas-cooled reactor, and then also supercritical water-cooled reactor, fast reactor, and multi-cooled reactor. So this database collects detailed information on the design of the different Gen 3, Gen 3 Plus, and Gen 4 reactors, which are directly provided by the vendors. Okay, so are detailed and very well qualified information coming from the vendors worldwide, which wanted to share the information, of course, the one which are not under IP rights. So we provide the member states with this database, and on a regular basis, as an annex to this, as complementary information to this ARIS database, we also publish this booklet. Recently, we have published a booklet on advanced large water reactor. Then every 2 years, we are requested by our member states to update this booklet on advanced in small modular reactor technology development, any kind of, independently from the coolant. So it means that it concerns both IPWR, but also gas-cooled reactor, molten salt reactor. Any type of reactor technology which can be qualified as a small, medium, or small modular reactor. And in 2013, we have also issued this status of innovative fast reactor design and concept, which is really, devoted to the, let's say, fast reactor, Gen 4 fast reactor concept under development worldwide. So in order to deal with this advanced technology, our section is organized in 5 different projects. A project devoted to advanced water-cooled reactors. The other one on gas-cooled reactor, which had also opened a sort of technology survey on molten salt reactor. Then a group on fast reactors, a group on small and medium-sized reactor, and the one on non-electric application. In order to define and review the program of these 5 projects, we rely on the advice from International Technical Working Group. It's a group of high-level representatives from all the member states which are interested in that particular technology. So for instance, we have a technical working group on light water reactor composed of 22 representatives, 22 member states. We have a technical working group on gas-cooled reactor, a very large group on fast reactor 27, which means, of course, that is also composed by member states, which at the moment they don't have a fast reactor program, but since they are very committed on nuclear, they look ahead and they wanted to be informed and create a networking on fast reactors. No particular technical working group on SMR because it's included at the moment within the technical working group on light water reactor. And also a technical working group on nuclear desalination in the frame of the larger nuclear, non-electric application of nuclear energy. What are the thematic areas that we cover? Well, first of all, modeling and simulation. Even here we have to be clear in that. Of course, the agency doesn't have any resources to develop our simulation tools, but at least we can provide the forum, for instance, for the verification and the validation of the nuclear codes, the simulation tools of our member states. Being the IAEA, of course, is also part of the process to gather the experimental data, which are normally provided by specific member state. And then we can launch a benchmark exercise with experimental data provided by a member state, and all the interested member states, they come and they perform this benchmark exercise in order to verify and validate their code. We also develop methodology. Our, I would say, flagship is the methodology for the technology assessment for near-term deployment. In few words, of course, I mean, the best technology, reactor technology, doesn't exist. It depends very much on the needs of that particular country. Okay, so the methodology has been developed with this in mind. Supposing that we have a newcomer which wants to go nuclear, one of the main choices, of course, is the reactor technology, which of course is normally chosen on the basis even of political reason, okay, or because of international agreement. And of course, the IAEA doesn't intervene on that. But at least we can provide a methodology in order to select the reactor technology which should be the best one to comply with the needs and requirements of that particular country. Okay? So we provide even training courses based on this methodology. We call the newcomer countries, and we really stimulate them to perform the exercise with our help in order to understand what is the best reactor technology for their needs. Let me go back on that later on. Safety, as I told you, the process owner to develop safety design criteria, requirements, and guides is the Department of Nuclear Safety and Security. But of course, when we talk about safety, there is always a technology aspect. So we support the Department of Safety and Security to develop the safety standard as for the part devoted to the technology. And this is true in particular for the advanced technology. So in this moment, we are developing safety design criteria and safety design guidelines, particularly for innovative sodium-cooled fast reactor. And we are doing that in cooperation with the Generation 4 International Forum. And we have just started a similar exercise even for the high-temperature gas-cooled reactor. We have just started a new coordinated research project, again, with the aim to analyze the technical aspect, which should be the basis of the safety design criteria for this particular no light water reactor. We also developed some toolkits. I will give you a flavor of that later on. And particular effort, as I said, at least for some reactor technology in education and training. I would say education and training, we have training courses and tools for all the reactor technologies. Knowledge preservation in recent years, as I don't know if I will have enough time, we have concentrated the effort in particular on gas-cooled reactor and fast reactor because of the particular timeline that how to say, characterize these two technologies that were used and deployed even at the very beginning of the nuclear era. But then, for several reasons, there was a lack of interest, even on deployment, of course, so the knowledge is really at risk. And so we have concentrated the effort on that. Well, let me spend some words about of course, everything is in the international context. So, everything is performed and implemented through international cooperation. And then when we talk about international cooperation, of course, we talk about exchange of information. We have several tools. First of all, we regularly organize conferences, in particular in the area of fast reactor. Every 4 years, we organize the International Conference on Fast Reactor related to a cycle. We have our technical working group. We say the technical working group is our instrument, let me say our tool, in order to collect advice from the member states which are interested in that particular technology. And of course, it's also a forum for exchange of information. And then we have so-called information expert meeting. In particular, in recent years, we had an IAM on post-Fukushima. I will come back in a while. So this is the poster of the different fast reactor conferences that we had so far. The next one will be in 2017 in Yekaterinburg, very close to the site hosting the BN600, BN800. So the reason is that one, that during the conference we will be also organizing a visit to the reactor. There's a typical technical working group of a fast reactor with all the member states and both full member and observers sitting in this technical working group with the forthcoming meeting. We have one meeting every year, and by the way, there's also the eldest technical working group of the IAEA. We will have the 49th meeting, which means that we have a meeting for 49 years in a row. And this is something that I would like to at least mention briefly. I mentioned at the beginning the big effort of the SSC concerning the lesson learned from the Fukushima accident. You may already know that we have recently published this big publication, which is called the Fukushima Daiichi accident, which is composed of 5 big technical volumes. One of them, dealing with a particular aspect of the first volume is the description and context of the accident. So the evolution of the accident, what we know nowadays. The second volume is devoted to the safety assessment. The third one on emergency preparedness and response. Then radiological consequences and post-accident recovery. You can download this big document from the website, and I think that it gives the state of the art, let me say, of the current knowledge that we have about the accident, the consequences, and also the lesson learned from the safety view part. But in parallel to this, big work, we have also organized a specific international expert meeting, and in particular, my section was in charge to organize this IAM concerning strengthening research and development effectiveness in the light of the Fukushima Daiichi accident. So it was very well received with 150 experts from all over the world. And we have collected some 130 recommendations, which should then be developed in research lines. Of course, the IAEA is not at all in the position to cover all these research, so there will be for sure the need of a large international cooperation and effort in order to address all these recommendations. In particular, we have received the recommendation to a large investigation on core cooling and containment venting under unexpected conditions. And of course, there is an increasing attention to the severe accident management, both for existing nuclear power plant and for new nuclear plant. So 130 recommendations divided into, categorized in 7 different categories, from external and internal event, technology development to prevent and mitigate severe accident analysis, EPR, post-accident recovery, common issues. For instance, the question of how to deal with severe accident when you have more than one unit, and why not even in different sites, which was the case of Fukushima Daiichi and Fukushima Daiichi. And then human and organizational factors. So, well, I mean, we have also received, I mean, the meeting was also able to identify some particular area which would deserve international cooperation, in particular the rated core cooling capability, in-vessel melt retention and ex-vessel current cooling, robust measure for reactor core cooling, the pressurization and removing heater to the ultimate heat sink, and improving severe accident codes and benchmarking. So something that we normally do. Massimo, you should tell me about
5 minutes left.
5 minutes. Okay, so in these 5 minutes, I want just to give you a flavor of our main tool, which is the so-called coordinated research project. So as I told you, one of the mission of the IAEA is this transfer of knowledge between developing countries and countries under development, which they want to go nuclear. But one of the topic, of course, is to create this kind of transfer of knowledge as for R&D. And for that, we use the so-called coordinated research activities, which provide opportunities to scientists and in developing and developed countries to work together on a common exercise. The output of this CRP are, first of all, we create a network, which is very important, create the network between developing and developing countries. We also regularly publish reports and databases, and in particular cases, through the technical cooperation, we also develop techniques which are then transferred to the developing countries. These are the CRPs under development in the different area. We have CRPs, for instance, for nuclear power plant in operation, like for instance qualification and monitoring of aged low voltage cables. My section is in charge of CRP in this area. We have CRPs in the water-cooled reactor technology, for instance qualification of advanced CFD codes, something related to the thermal-hydraulic of supercritical water-cooled reactors, and also creep in heavy water-cooled reactor tubes. We have a CRP on the gas-cooled technology on uncertainty analysis, a number of CRP devoted to fast reactors, the one that I want to, which I want to elaborate a little bit more. CRP also on non-electrical application, for instance, low temperature desalination system, cogeneration involving nuclear energy. My colleagues of the nuclear fuel cycle division are dealing with CRP both on front end fuel and back end. In particular, there are CRPs concerning thorium-based fuel, or a very important CRP which have just started concerning the accident-tolerant fuel. And finally, there are CRP in the area of research reactors. As an example, let me show you what was the approach that we have pursued in the last few years concerning fast reactors. Well, our major effort, as I told you, is to launch a benchmarking exercise based on experimental data. Well, we have very good example. For instance, on CRP recently completed, we had a CRP concerning a MOX core in the BN600, so real data coming from the BN600 under operation in Russia. Another one, actually it was a double CRP on the end-of-life test in Phenix, both on natural circulation in this reactor and an exercise on control rod withdrawal. Another one on sodium natural convection in the Monju reactor. And currently, we have a CRP on 2 shutdown heat removal tests which were conducted in the EBR-II reactors in the 90s before the final shutdown. Both they protected and unprotected the shutdown heat removal test. We have a CRP on sodium properties. The aim of this CRP is to develop a handbook of sodium properties harmonized at the international level, and also to harmonize best practice for the design and the safe operation of experimental facilities in sodium. And the just launched the CRP, which is a simulation of a severe accident, a real core disruption accident in the Indian prototype fast breeder reactor. In the future, we plan to have CRPs again on the Monju reactor, not only the upper part of the vessel, but the natural circulation in the whole reactor. A CRP very similar to EBR-II, but in this case based on an experimental campaign conducted in your FFTF fast reactor with MOX fuel instead of metal fuel, and most probably also a CRP based on the startup test in the Chinese SCWR reactor. So without going into many details of that, at the end of these CRPs, of course, we have publications which well describe both the input and the output of the CRP itself. So, of course, these results are open. I mean, everyone can access the results. And here is the flavor of a technical document which were recently published by the IAEA as a result of the CRPs that I have described so far. However, we have also other publications which may be of interest even for this community. For instance, there is a focus in this moment on advanced technology. We have also identified all the research reactors which are in operation worldwide and which may support any kind of test in support of the advanced reactor, in particular non-light water reactor. We regularly publish also a status of fast reactor research and technology development, and very recently also an equivalent document concerning accelerator-driven system. So I think that
we're out of time.
Yeah, we are running out of time. Well, just a few words on the fact that, as I told you, even if we don't have enough time, we have some important activities in support of small modular reactors. In particular, we are developing a technology roadmap for the deployment of SMR. We create a forum in which all the international stakeholders comes, and they provide us with very up-to-date data on that. And now there is the attempt to create the basis for the next step, which is the licensing and the deployment of SMR, so an important activity under development, and in which we hope to publish the technology roadmap at the end of this year. Okay, so that's here. I'm very happy to.
We can take a few questions.
Any questions that you may have.
So, thank you. It was a wonderful talk. You talked about the intern program, but my understanding is that the IAEA overall has very few permanent employees, and even the more senior people are there only for like 5 years or something? Or do I misunderstand how the...
Well, we have, the secretary is composed of 2,300 people, so it's not, as an international organization, we are pretty large. And on top of that, well, there are pros and cons, but we apply a very strong rotation policy. So it means that, even if the secretary is only 2,300 people, with this rotation policy, of course, many people in the world have the chance to come. The point is, the drawback is that when they come, they are granted only with a 3-year contract, which can be extended 2 plus 2 years. So maximum number of years that you can remain at the agency is 7 years. It is on purpose. Okay? First of all, because since we are serving 168 member states, everyone should have the chance to come. If we stabilize all these people, of course, the chance to be hired is very low. Because, of course, we can increase the number of human resources very much. On the other, and also, of course, it's also to refresh the environment, to feed the secretary with fresh blood, let me say. There is, of course, a drawback on the fact that if you are, in my view, the agency is a very good opportunity for young people to understand what does it mean to work in an international context with many, many interfaces. You have the chance to interact with many people all around the world, with different culture, different approach, different technology background. And this is very useful for young people. The fact that we apply the rotation policy, in my view, in this case, is good, because I would never recommend a young nuclear engineer or nuclear engineer at large to come to the agency when they are 30 and remain at the agency for the rest of this career. Because after this experience, I think that people should go back and go the real world where you perform research and development. You go in some industry and so on and so forth. And that later on you can reconsider to apply to the IAEA for a senior professional position. For a person who is in the 50s, well, this can be, if you are 50 years old, well, it's questionable, because if you remain 5, 6, or 7 years at the agency, and then you go back to your country, of course the opportunities to have another good position are very low. So again, depending on your time frame, okay, it may be an important occasion or something which may have a negative impact on your professional life because of this rotation policy. So we know that there are, of course, limits, but it's something which is requested by our member states and is like that since the creation of the SS.
Any other question?
There's no question about the safeguards program. Now, the IAEA, is that a component organization within United Nations, or okay?
Even if we are independent,
even
we are in the UN family, but we have been created as an independent organization.
Do you have? Is there any ability in the IAEA to, in terms of imposing sanctions, or do you simply say report that somebody's not in compliance?
No, we just report.
Okay.
It means that the UN, there are UN resolution like in the case of Iran. And then the task of the IAEA was to verify compliance or not of what the UN decided in terms of resolution. And then to report to the UN in terms of what we have verified inside. Okay? So we are not in the position to apply sanctions or so on and so forth. This decision taken by the UN itself. Please.
Let's see, about 5 years ago, there was a minor station blackout at Kori Nuclear Unit 1 in Korea, and unfortunately, that wasn't the serious problem. The serious problem was a failure of safety culture, where the station manager told everybody not to report it, and they didn't.
We know this case.
Yes, the IAEA set out a team to see if what could be done for the Korean nuclear business. What group the IAEA went to Korea to do that?
I don't know, frankly speaking. We know, I don't think that the IAEA was very much involved in that case.
Oh, the Koreans thought so. The Koreans thought the IAEA was doing a big whitewash job.
Well, most probably it was a group from the Department of Safety However, yeah, so not our department. However, I have to say that, let me say, the lesson learned from that particular incident, let me say, was not very much reported inside the house. This is why I don't know, I mean, there was a really strong involvement of the IAEA in that particular event. This was actually, I fully
I was
agree
in
with you,
Korea
it was
at the time,
really a
so-
lack of
Yeah.
safety culture.
Yeah.
I mean, taking into account Fukushima accident and this kind of event, which unfortunately, I mean, happens on the regular basis in nuclear power, the IAEA in recent years have put a lot of effort on safety culture, and in particular, and even identify a recommendation for the future. I think that is a key point, above all when we are dealing with reactors, which I mean, were conceptualized 50, 60 years ago. I think that